policy, generally people say taxation policy, they are more or less the indicating basically the same. Since we talk about India, then you have to understand about certain what we call Indian audit. This means how the country is organized administratively. We call India as Union of States. This means there is one union, the headquarters is New Delhi, that is Government of India. Here we call central government, and in English we call federal government. Then you have 28, 29 states and union territories. These are all constitutional provisions. Again, in Constitution, the area of central government, the area of the state government, that has been divided. There are certain areas where central government has the power, there are certain areas where the state government has the power, and accordingly, there are certain taxes which can be levied by the central government, there are certain taxes levied by the state government, and the state government sometimes transfers some powers to the municipal authorities at the lower level to use the tax mechanism. The other thing to keep in mind, as I said, it is a federal state. In this situation, you keep in mind one thing, that whatever taxes central is collecting, central is levying, central is collecting, but it is not keeping the whole proceeds with itself. This means what? Center has to share some of the tax proceeds to the states. But the main problem here, how to share, how much central tax collection should go to the states. So the constitutional makers devised the formula, that is, the funds are transferred through the body known as Finance Commission. The Finance Commission is a constitutional body. It is set up every 5 years. Now today, the 14th Finance Commission is working. Now the functions of this Finance Commission is what? The function of this Finance Commission is to recommend to the central government as to how much tax should be shared with the state government. Now, what should be the percentage between center and the states? This is known as, in technical language, what we call vertical transfer, from center to the states, and to lower level also means that is local bodies. The other function, more important of the Finance Commission, is to recommend about what could be the share of states among the amount that is transferred to the states. One is the center and the states, but how to transfer among the states? That means horizontal transfer. So one is the vertical, other is the horizontal transfer, that means among the states. But take into account, and transferring the funds among the states is more difficult. And just pointing out the problems. Why is it difficult? Because different states claim to have more shares on different grounds. All are valid grounds, you can say, from their end. Some states say we are poor, we give me more. Some states again saying backwardness or some other reason that they should get more. Maharashtra is claiming you collect so much tax from Maharashtra, you give us more. So you have to understand the conflicting claim of different states and how the Finance Commission balances this, that you have to understand the difficulty in the process of sharing of the tax, first between center and the states and then among the states. So this is the major task of the Finance Commission. There are other matters also which is given to the Finance Commission to decide on these matters. But these are the main that you have to keep in mind. Tax share, because if it is Constitution maker says that the tax center will collect and then it will be transferred share. How much to be shared? It is not with the discretion of the finance minister. It is not with the discretion of the central government. The question is, they have set up a body which is set up every 5 years, so it will informate that for next 5 years this much percentage should be transferred. You try to understand here that constitutional makers try to reduce the political whims so far as funds is to be transferred. Take into account center is headed by suppose Congress and suppose Gujarat headed by the BJP. So there is a psychological discrimination thing that center may transfer less to the opposition states and more to the developed states of the same political party. So my point here is to avoid this kind of conflict, the constitution maker tries to have a separate body on the recommendation of that funds to be transferred to the state. So Finance Commission is called quasi-judicial body. Why quasi-judicial body? Because when Finance Commission is set up, the Finance Commission works for roughly 1.5 years. They do their own research. They visit all their state capitals. They ask for their memorandum, what they want, how they are performing. So Finance Commission examines both the finance of the state government, finance of the central government, their projections for the next 5 years, their trend in the earlier 5 years, and then out of their own research and because of conflicting claims, they come to some particular conclusion as to what amount should be shared between center and states. My simple submission here is that it is not an easy task, and the 14th Finance Commission, as I said, is working. It is expected to give its report by next year, October. If you read newspaper, you can find out what problems or claims they are roughly reported. So you can just keep a track if you like that. Having said this, you just understand the constraints. You just understand the problems. Do not go just by the structure. The constraints are very much there. And as I said, fiscal policy largely becomes a political matter. So all the time you will see there are conflicts. How they are resolved, that is more important. And in India, particularly when budget is presented, there is a hype in newspaper, in companies, and in corporates, among people also, among professionals, that budget will be presented. Now it is generally presented on the last day of October, but there is a hype. Because in our country, as you know, budget is a tool of fiscal policy. But more than fiscal policy, it incorporates certain other things also, which are directly not come under the purview of fiscal policy. So many things government announces through budget. So it becomes a tool of the broad economic policy also of the government. So we expect so much, and that's why there is hype about the budget. People ask, what is going to happen in this budget? next year, what will be the case. So this height is just height. You have to understand that it is not an easy task to present the budget, to manage, and what is the easy task, what is not the easy task. As you are a student of economics, it must be knowing, as economics is a science of choice making, I should say budget making is choice making also. But the question is, it is a very difficult task. The resource constraint, that is scarcity, the alternative uses of resources, all are working. The element of opportunity cost is there. So you have to understand it is not an easy task. You should not expect that the finance minister may give a very high amount to particular sector. It is not possible because of the constraints. What you try to know here, there are certain expenditures which we call committed expenditure. They must be there, whatever be the situation. So if you see that after meeting committed expenditure, what one do you have? As I told yesterday, and you have the data which is broad data, that what is the revenue received and what is the total expenditure. See the gap of fiscal deficit coming into 1 lakh crores of rupees more than that, and this is the problem that the finance minister has to make it happen. So keeping these things in mind, with this backdrop, you have to understand the budget making and fiscal policy of India. So we have started when we discuss this fiscal policy. You have to take into account that after independence, there were certain aspects which was to be taken into account, and at that time the main problem was the tax base was very low, economy was not so much developed, and as I told you, the main taxes were indirect taxes, direct taxes, income tax, corporate. They were very limited at that time. Gradually, we moved, and then the situation looked a little bit better. Along with that, from revenue side, you have also to understand the expenditure. Expenditure, more or less, as I said, they are committed, outstanding. You have to make expenditure. But again, the resource constraints arise, and then with gradual movement of time, resources, government expanded very fast. Very fast means the government expenditure. If you take the total, as I said yesterday perhaps, that what is the cash GDP ratio in India? It is roughly 16-17%. And if you include expenditure, then it becomes roughly 20%. So 20% expenditure, 16% tax. So the government operation of GDP virtually in India runs around 36-37% of the GDP. So my point is, you understand the size of the government operation, the size of the finance, and also keep into mind the effect of operation of fiscal policy on the economy through tax, through expenditure, through borrowing, through tax. So the impact of fiscal policy that we are roughly concerned with, that we have to take into. But with time, as I said, problems will keep on changing. To my mind, problems are not changing, nature, dimension, they keep on changing. As for example, when I talk objectives of economic policy, that is still today, growth. How to achieve growth? today, in the current situation, what we are facing? Slow down of growth. It is around 5%. We want to raise it. The question is how? So growth problem is there, and growth is related to what? In our macroeconomic term, we call investment. Investment is coming from savings. So you have to keep a balance. How? You reduce tax, give incentive, expecting that will promote investment, that will promote growth. This is one aspect. For social justice or for whatever reasons, different sectors of the economy, all of them need more fund. Infrastructure, education, health, sanitation, backward regions, all these things require more fund. So you see the conflict. Your cash incoming is not that much, expenditure keep on expanding all the time. With increasing population also, the problem of congestion, infrastructure, housing, education, all these things are having impact of the increasing population, and you have to keep in mind. The problem remains same, that the government should meet particular expenditure, but resources being limited. So how this time government is managing, or the economy is managed through this tool of fiscal policy, that you have to understand. Other thing that you also keep in mind that the tax, how it evolved, different tax policies, different tax rates, how it evolved. Actually, taxes are never evolved on a very rational, theoretical thing. It is always you will find a kind of compromise, given the political situation. You can impose the tax, but you are not able to tax. In economics, generally people say, let agriculture be taxed. Because in our country, sources of income are divided. We divide for income tax purpose government, agricultural tax, non-agricultural tax. You might be aware that the non-agricultural tax is taxed, and agriculture is not taxed. It is outside the income. Tax net. Why? Central government says it is the subject of a state government. Agriculture, land is a subject of a state government, and the states are not paying tax on agriculture. Now you try to understand, there has been continuous recommendations by various committees, commissions, that agriculture should be taxed, and it is not taxed. Rather, if you talk today, agriculture should be taxed, all parties are saying yes, it should not be taxed. There was a time when particular political parties supporting, but now no. Political party, to my mind, is supporting that agriculture should be taxed.
I have a small question. Is it a justified thing? Because the thing is, now agriculture business is done by ITC and big multinationals, Cargill and all. Are they not lobbying such agriculture? Because when you're putting tax on agriculture, effectively you are exempting anyways the people who are not earning. It's basically the people who are the upper end, who are basically small part, who are basically lobbying and basically not getting any tax, paying any taxes. And they should pay those taxes.
Yes, no, that's why I'm saying, here is an economist. You see the argument, I also say, let it be taxed. But I am going little bit further, why is it not taxed? The main thing you have to understand, which I hinted earlier also, that since in a democracy, if you tax agriculture or agriculture income, this means you are taxing farmers.
Not all farmers, only rich farmers.
No, the question is the political parties say farmers only.
So
They do not say, actually, even if income tax was paid, certain people are exempt. Similarly, you can say marginal farmers, small farmers, they will naturally be exempt.
So then there's a, then the
No,
issue is
that is why you say lobby. So this means you have to understand that lobby is powerful in the sense that political parties consider them as a vote bank. They think if they tax, they will lose certain votes. So no political party is coming forward to tax the agriculture.
I don't think it's a purely, it's nothing to do with votes, because 90% of the people will not be taxed. It will be not even 10%, it will be just 2% people. So I don't buy this argument that vote is the issue here. This is purely lobbying by the rich people to exempt themselves.
That's why two things are involved here.
No, the saying this is for the vote politics, this is not vote bank politics.
I'm not going to this debate, but try to understand what you raised the issue. Hardly 1 or 2% farmers will be taxed because they will be rich landlords. They are having land, they are having produce, and they are having what we call in economics marketable surplus. They are selling, they are getting income.
And all these corporate companies which are there.
Actually, suppose. So now what happens? Suppose corporate companies are there. Because you have corporatized your agriculture also in the process. The point is these corporate or 1 or 2% farmers, they influence the decision makers. Somehow or the other, there are various means. Government thinks that 1% farmer may influence 10% voters. If liberal is coming, our social system is still such that I say go and vote to so and so. He goes and whether votes or not, I don't know. But this is the perception that the landlord is trying to influence the vote pattern or will try to influence, therefore do not touch them, I will lose my vote.
I don't think even that is true, because the thing is, in last 50, 60 years, it's the big corporations which have come in, because NIPSP was doing a study and ITC was trying to commission a study, and when they wanted a conclusion to be written first, that the agriculture should be exempted. When NIPSP refused that we will not do the study when your conclusion already written, then they did not give the project to them, and effectively they were looking for an agency which can give them. So it was not purely anything to do with vote bank politics. It was purely to do with lobbying by the small corporates, which are the multinationals, and some of the Indian companies also. So I don't buy this argument at all that it has anything to do with vote bank politics.
See, again, indirectly, multinational politics influencing decision making. Why government is influenced by multinationals? You have to understand the government is getting some kind of otherwise support, maybe funding, electoral process, whatever may be there. That is why he is right in the sense today what we say, capturing the government. Actually, these multinational firms dictating today do this. So this means what? Why did they capture and what government got captured? Only to fund, and the eye is on only election. Because they have to win. How you say that, no, that 1% farmer not influencing. Suppose for the time being agreed. But the question is, why the government is influenced by multinationals? What are the reasons behind? So this means so many things. That government is not committed towards that social justice. Therefore, the more and more economic might is going to particular section of the business. There was a point earlier, we had MRTP Act. Where is that? No longer. So in the name of competition, you have a law. So the question is policy of liberalization, whatever it may be. So you have to understand that anyway that it is not that, as he says, because of multinational. I'm saying please add also big landlords in that it is not taxed. So one thing, state governments are not taxing, to my mind, that rests with that fear of vote losing. State governments. So you have to take into account that there is a source. They are getting income and it is not taxed. So my simple point is that the one major source is deliberately left out for raising resources, what is called mobilization of resources. So there are a number of areas where government can get revenue, but government is not trying to get revenue. Why? Because of that constraints comes from various quarters. There is what you call in economics, vested interest. So vested interest is everywhere. Multinational vested interest, big landlord vested interest, and they pressurize the government, please do not touch agriculture.
Sir, in our country, most of the farmers are moving from the agriculture to the other sectors.
Yes.
And there are so many states where farmers are very inside. So do you really feel that it is justifiable to impose tax on those farmers?
So those farmers will be exempt because they are marginal farmers, small farmers. They are leaving agriculture. Rather, they have come to town or doing other work because agriculture is not viable for them because their size of plot is so small. So they do not get employment throughout. So most of them trying to sell land. And what happens with that selling? Big landlords occupying those lands.
But is there any methodology so that we can evaluate whether these farmers are marginal farmers or not?
See, what is the income criteria? See, the thing is, even the big farmers will be almost exempt. In the sense, they will, suppose you put tax on agriculture, they will show the income as non-agriculture. So then they will be exempt. The only people who will be caught will be only the companies. So they cannot hide this income. With this present system, what happens? They show a lot of their non-agriculture income also agriculture income. So if your Cargill seed and your ITC and all, these are the companies which are lobbying. Big farmers are not worried because they are very small in numbers and they will know some way to evade the taxes. So farmers community will not be affected. It's a corporate organized sector which will be affected if you don't have tax if you have tax on agriculture. So be very clear in your mind, organized versus unorganized. Big farmer is unorganized mostly. So government will have no mechanism to catch them. But the people who are in the multinationals and all who are fleecing and showing a lot of profit, and they are showing a lot of non-agriculture profit. Nestle, a lot of the milk food, a lot of the milk-based companies also. They are showing this no taxes. And they show not only non-agriculture income also as agriculture income, and they are exempted.
So that means that government doesn't impose tax on this.
So it's a corporate lobbying basically that gets the agriculture sector to be tax-free.
So anyway, the point is agriculture is a potential source of resource mobilization, but due to certain constraints, vested interest, it is not taxed so far in India. There were a number of committees, recommendation. We will remember the Raj Committee report on agriculture holding way back in early 1970. He said agriculture holding tax, and that did not materialize, whatever be the reasons. So this is not tax, that is the point, whatever be the reason. My next point here is that fiscal policy, one problem in India is this, that from one policy we want to fulfill number of objectives. That creates problem. Long back there was an economist and perhaps the first Nobel laureate in economics, Timbergen. He said, one objective, one policy to. If you want to fulfill one objective, let there be separate policy to. In India, we want to fulfill number of objectives through one policy. Take for example, fiscal policy. Poverty alleviation is there, regional imbalance is there, social justice is there, incentive to production is there, and you are trying to balance different conflicting things. What is the end result? We are not able to achieve effectively. Take for example, I have given few points here in see page number 4. If you see the third paragraph, last line in the third paragraph, in India the tax policy has been made to pursue a variety of objectives, such as promoting saving, encouraging exports, enabling balanced regional development, creating infrastructure, promoting scientific research, encouraging employment, enabling gender equity, protect the elderly, promote a small car versus large, and so on and so forth, and raising revenue and promoting equity. These are some of the points I have noted which government is eager to fulfill through fiscal policy. My point here is that sometimes what government does through fiscal policy, you might be knowing tax exemptions. This is not tax. This is exemption. Corporates are the beneficiary, both through direct tax as well as indirect tax. If you are importing machine, it is not taxed. Why? Because you are in the health sector. All corporate hospitals, they are importing equipments. They are not taxed in the name of health sector. Question is, whom they are serving? They are tax exempt. So my point is this, that you exempt tax, and you know how much tax exempt is there total? Both
expenditure.
Direct, indirect, we call it tax expenditure in our technical language, and I have noted that in the budget of 2012-13, various tax exemptions means tax foregone, and it was 5,73,000 crore. This means government did not collect it. Why? Because it is legally exempt. And why exempt? These are the reasons which I said. So my simple point, I am try to understand the problem and working of fiscal policy. Can you make better? Can we contribute? So when this question comes, that government has justification because it is giving exemption on these grounds. But who is to check that whether these are fulfilled? Whether it is actually done? We do not have such kind of machinery in India. So what happens? The tax expenditure in India is large, and it is necessary to phase them out in the interest of revenue, efficiency, and horizontal equity. Long back, the person is no more, this NICSP director there, he was member of Finance Commission also, Amresh Bagchi. He objected long back that these exemptions should not be there. Recently, NICSP study also says that tax should not have so much exemptions. Because what happens? If you put more exemption, tax laws becomes clumsy. And it is difficult to understand. Even 13th Finance Commission recommended that exemption should be removed, and he submitted a report also, Fiscal committee, and there were a number of things that should not be there, means the removal of exemptions largely. So my point here is that when government is trying to raise resources, then the areas economically are known. Problem is not economic. Problem comes from political. Because they take the decisions. They are not taxing. There are areas which can better be taxed. As perhaps you will remember, as I said, organized sector, unorganized sector. Why our tax GDP ratio remains low?
Very large.
No, because, yes.
Very large unorganized sector.
Then why? If large organized sector is there, then why are you not raising tax from there? What are the problems? That you have to understand. Measuring.
How many years?
Yes, that is one aspect. Theoretically, how to measure their income. But more, as you know, unorganized. In what sense it is unorganized? Is there any effort to organize them? The question is, we do not have any record. Suppose even in Delhi or this small area of Gurgaon, how many traders are there, what they are doing. You do not have such record. So, when you target that a particular group should be taxed, unorganized sector. Agriculture is unorganized sector, as I said, it is already left out. But there are what we call petty traders, Anwala or some vegetable seller making hopping door to door. That is, suppose you are not taxing. But the question here is, those who are little bit organized, having a place, you can locate and you are not trying. So the question is, the effort is there from administration side, which is not coming, and whenever it comes, then vested interest is there. If I remember right, when our present Prime Minister was Finance Minister, what did he suggest? You pay 1,400 per year, these petty traders, as tax, one time, 1 year, and no question will be asked. Very, very few traders came forward and deposited the money. Why? Can you answer? They were ready to give 1,400, but do not write my name. Why? Because it will go in the government record. The question is, where is the political will to record those names? Again, to my mind, vote bank comes. To displease them means losing vote. So we are not doing. But it is known that they are ready to give. You just take some amount, what we call presumptive tax, fixed amount you give and no question is asked. This is one in unorganized sector. What is another? We all know they are getting far more income, but they are not paying a single tax. That is largely from a small scale sector. There are two categories in a small scale sector. One is registered, other is not registered. I am talking about both. Even if one is registered, there is no return, there is nothing, no question. And those who are unregistered, if the government has no record of them. The question is, if you want to mobilize resources, if you just show some political will, and of the will, that your entire fiscal deficit will be wiped out. If there is sincerity on the part of the government and in the long-term interest of fiscal health or country's health, long-term. In short-term, you may lose something. Yes, they can. But the problem is, who is to bear the tax? Who will take the decision? This should be taxed. Municipal corporations are not taxing what is we call professional tax. And you know the state of municipalities in India. Why are they not working well? There is no income. Their main source, property tax, means house tax. And that is also evaded. And as I said, funds are transferred from center to states. Now there is a provision with the 81st or 82nd Amendment that the funds will go to the local bodies also. So Finance Commission also recommended that funds should be transferred to them. Under Panchayati Raj institutions, the constitution was amended. Then state governments are also having their own finance commission just to transfer funds to the local government. So my point here is that there are areas, particularly this small scale sector, where from we can collect taxes, but the question is there must be very systematic record. Government is doing one thing. They have economic census of different activities, professions, but not having from this angle that there should be a record and then you try to find out the extra sources of funds. So if this is done, you know that this is vast and a small sector is growing. If you today what you complain, manufacturing sector is not doing well, their output is declining. But if you see the data under manufacturing sector, the small sector is doing well, not the organized part. Despite number of government concessions given to the organized sector. You know, they have made, earlier we were having what is called a special economic zone for export. Then they started after a few years, just perhaps 2010, and what they call National Manufacturing Investment Zone, NMIZ. The idea was to establish different hubs, different centers where goods will be manufactured. Western corridor, Eastern corridor, from here to Bombay, there will be places that would be characterized as manufacturing zone. Now, how far they are really working? How far they are, because the target is what? Target was to get 25% of GDP from industry sector. It is around 15-16 today. So in 5-10 years they wanted to raise the contribution of industry to GDP through this NMIZ. But the question is, sometimes our policy misses certain simple things. And that simple thing, what I am telling, is that a small scale sector. That must be taken into account. There must be, I say, promoted. The difficulties should be removed, and they should not run after so many offices. What we call a single window, something like this, they should be provided. And then you have their record, you can have proper tax machinery without error. The question is, in our country, where the taxpayer is harassed, this psychology must go. That is the point, and that you have to take into account, that this should not happen. Since, as I said, the earlier proposal was just deposit 1400, he will be let off. But why did they not do that? Only because they thought my name is there, I will be harassed. This psychology must go if you want to collect more. And the government, if it has will, it can do it. There is not much point involved here that they will not be able to do. They can do it. The next thing that you try to understand in this context, in our fiscal policy. As I said, we want to put